I mean, I think most people can kind of agree that there are a clear bottom two teams in North America heading into spring. Again, this is just on paper and all hypothetical. We haven't seen any of the synergies or any of the on-rift action between these squads. But number 9 has got to be Golden Guardians, and they do have the fantastic meme of GoldenGlue playing for Golden Guardians in 2020 spring, and GoldenGlue absolutely deserves an LCS starting spot, and it's fair that he got one, but I don't know if he's the guy to be leading a squad to a playoff berth. This is all about Haunter, and I mean, 2019, it was all about Haunter and Froggen. They lose Froggen. I still feel like GoldenGlue is a downgrade in that regard. The bottom lane, FBI is sticking around. FBI and Haunter are the only two guys returning from 2019. And then you have the role swap with Keith coming in at support. And if you watched the announcement video, it was head coach Nick Inero and the general manager of Golden Guardians basically coming up with the idea. You talk about Perks going to AD carry, that was fully his idea. He reached out to Ocelot. Keith, this wasn't his idea, but they brought it to him and said, listen, you could be a starter in the LCS. And to his credit, he did seem very interested in doing that. It sounds like him and FBI might be boot camping in Korea for the offseason to just get that synergy rolling. And the swap from AD carry to support is probably the easiest role swap that you can do as a professional player, but Keith wasn't exactly dominating as an AD carry. He was great in the academy, but not at that LCS level, so who knows if that's going to work. The most interesting move is, of course, Closer coming in as the jungler, who I actually think is probably going to be an upgrade over Contracts, and that's the best roster move that the Guardians did make. But is Closer going to pop into the LCS and all of a sudden be a top 4 jungler? Probably not going to be the case, but Contracts, as we've talked about before, had the most deaths among junglers 4 splits in a row. The entire 2-year run he had on the Guardians, he was getting caught out constantly and dying when it was not necessary. So Closer is definitely going to be an upgrade in that regard, and if Golden Guardians want to actually be fighting for a playoff spot, they are going to need him to play at that same MVP level that he had in Turkey. He had some of the best pre-15 minutes. He was pre-15 minute numbers. He was fully involved with all of the early game on Royal Youth, and they're going to need more out of that. They're going to need some fantastic synergy on the top side of the map, because I don't see him playing around bottom lane very much with FBI and Keith. And that was one of the biggest weakness points for GGS last year, and I don't think it has been addressed in 2020. All they've really done is a slight downgrade in that solo lane, mid lane with GoldenGlue, and a slight upgrade for Closer in the jungle as well. So they didn't make playoffs last year. Those changes, when other teams definitely got better, at least in that middle tier, I don't see that being enough for Golden Guardians to make it through playoffs. But if Closer completely exceeds expectations, maybe they can be sniffing for that number 6 spot. But it's sad to say they might be going back to the levels that we saw the first year and parts of the summer split as well. They've only made playoffs once since they were introduced as an organization in franchising. You compare their regular season record to Immortals, and it is basically the complete opposite. You do have that built-in synergy. Obviously, GoldenGlue and Keith are very familiar with one another. They spent a lot of time playing alongside at Cloud9 Academy, so maybe the communication between mid and now support, but that's not always the most important in terms of synergy. You're looking at more support and jungle, but maybe Keith is going to be roaming mid lane a lot. There's a lot of intricacies he's going to have to learn in the support role. Again, you heard the GGS management staff talking about they want an aggressive laner to pair with FBI because he loves to punish and just get ahead through the laning phase. So there's a lot more to support than just winning that laning phase. Don't see this GGS roster fighting for playoffs.